Hi, Bethany Clement, Elysian Properties.
I'm Cody Touchette with the Touchette team at Caliber Home Loans.
Quick review, we're doing a series, a 5-part series, and we're kind of calling it Buying 101. And last week I talked about helping you find that perfect home.
Yep, and we talked about making sure that you were totally pre-approved and maybe even pre-underwritten.
Yeah, which really helps because then that leads into this next step. So we found the perfect home. This is your 10 out of 10 dream home, folks. And now it's time to put in an offer. And a lot of people get a little bit scared about this process, so let me explain it to you. First, we found the home, we've looked through the home, and you've known that this is the home that you want to put an offer in. So then I do a little bit of research to make sure what market value is for that home. Now let's just say hypothetically this home is $300,000. That might not be market. It could be over, it could be under. And so I'm going to do a little research to see what I believe the market is saying that home is worth. And it might be $290 and it might be $325. Then I'm going to let you know what I believe the market is saying that home is worth. But then I'm going to ask you, what do you feel this home is worth to you? And what do you feel it's not worth? What is that kind of walk away price?
Sure.
And whatever that is for you, we're going to set that before we put the offer in, because the home buying process can be emotional, and I want to make sure that you feel really good about what you're paying for the home, but also feel good about, you know what, over that I'm not comfortable spending. And that conversation has sort of happened previously with knowing what you're approved at,
Sure.
knowing what you're comfortable paying for your mortgage. And so then at that point, we're going to sit down and talk about the structure of your contract, what the offer will actually be, the terms and things that you're willing to waive, but the things that you really want to keep involved. Usually one of the things I'm going to recommend, and I wouldn't say usually, I'd say always, I recommend an inspection. We throw that in there. Let's have an inspection, usually to happen within 5 days of the contract. There's other strategies, things to take out and put in, and we'll talk about that to make sure that you're structured at the best possible position to win that deal. Now you might ask, well, what happens if somebody else has put in an offer?
Yeah.
Well, the answer to that is I've had a conversation with that listing agent. Once I know that house is what you want to buy, I call the agent and I have a conversation. I want to know a couple things. Do you have any other offers? What are they? Will you tell me what they are? Is it what the seller's looking for? What is the seller looking for? Because we want to structure a win-win contract. Not just does it work for you as the buyer, but does it work for the seller? Because that's what the seller's going to accept, a win-win contract. And just a few other things. Is there something else that I should know about the home? Is it an HOA? Are there some disclosures? We've reviewed the seller disclosure, anything about the property and things like that. And then I let you know as the buyer if there's anything that's maybe not satisfactory to you, or any red flags, or looks like a great home, let's put an offer, you're the only offer. Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're not the only offer. There's a couple other offers, and here's what we would need to do to win that contract. Is this acceptable to you? Do you want to put in that offer in those terms? And if it's yes, then we go ahead and put the offer together. And I send you an electronic signature for you to fill out after we've reviewed the contract, or we can wet sign in person, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Then I send it over to the listing agent and ask that they let us know as soon as they've accepted our contract. Well, I'm a great agent, and so we won the contract, you got the house, and now we're in what's called mutual. That means that both parties have signed around the contract, everyone's in agreement. There might have been some back and forth, a little bit of counteroffers, but we're now finally in mutual, and that's sent off to Cody and his team and off to escrow. So there's where we're at. We're at mutual, accepted contract. You got the house, we have a party, and now that's where Cody and his team take over. So what happens next?
From our perspective, that's where the rubber really meets the road. We get going. So when we get that contract in, we want to make sure we get it right away so we don't lose any days. So most of the time, closing time frames are quite tight in this market. So 25 days, 21 days in some cases. So we want to make sure we get it in right away. And so what we do is we get that contract in, we scrub that information, scrub that property, make sure that that's something that is doable for our clients, make sure that it matches up with their goals and their pre-approval, and then we book some time to go back through everything with our clients. So We sit down either in person or over the phone and confirm all the details, make sure that they're going to be in town during the entire time that that closing is going to happen, make sure that we talk through about the numbers, payment, cash at close, all of the details of the transaction. Then our team gets to work on it. We get going on ordering out services, making sure that everything's dialed in and tight, and then off to processing. Processors are going to double check our work, make sure everything's in the file, and then it goes into underwriting. The underwriting piece is where we really want to make sure we put our best foot forward. So before that, we're going to maybe get an update on a pay stub or update on a bank statement, something that might have been dated from our original pre-approval. Then that's going to go in. Underwriting is going to come back to us with what's called a conditional loan approval or a loan commitment. So now we've got an actual loan commitment based on a piece of property and the client's information. That's a really solid place to be. And then from there, we do a number of other things that we'll talk about more next week. But that is in really the biggest hurdle of mortgage in and of itself, is getting that initial conditional loan approval.
Yeah, well, and something else that you do that I always appreciate is then once we've submitted your offer, so backtrack a little bit, when we've submitted your offer, something great that Cody's going to do is going to give that listing agent a call and say, hey, this buyer is really qualified, and answer any questions that listing agent might have. Because I know as a listing agent, when I'm listing a home and I get an offer and their lender calls me, well, it automatically makes me feel more confident, makes me feel like, oh, this is a team that really wants to make things smooth. Because it's Cody and my main objective to make everything run smoothly and have everyone be communicated with and educated about the process. So I really appreciate that you do that.
And that's one of the things the main things that we talk about in that conversation is we make sure that they understand that our buyers are well qualified, that you are well qualified, and that we have that conversation about being a team, right? Really together, we are working together. The listing agent, the buyer's agent, the buyers and the sellers, and the mortgage company, to make sure that we all get the ball across the finish line, right? That's what we're, really the biggest piece is to come together as a team. And when a listing agent understands that, and they get that feeling from us, they know that we're gonna have a good transaction where everybody's gonna be communicative and be in touch with each other.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that one of the questions that I'm hearing a lot, and I know you do as well, is that final underwrite where you're asking for renewed pay stubs and things like that. So sometimes people get a little confused how come they're submitting things a second time. That's kind of one of the questions that we get.
It's common, most people will say that their biggest frustration with the mortgage process is the endless documents, and it can be true. Now we try to get all that stuff up front, so we're not having to deal with that. But if a month or two goes by between when you're pre-approved and when you get your offer, we have to have it updated. The guidelines state that we have to have 30 days worth of pay stubs that are no more than 30 days old. So as time goes by, they might get dated, and so they just need to get updated. Generally speaking, we're never going to ask for the same thing twice, right? We might ask for another pay stub, but it's because the previous ones now have become dated and they won't be new enough at the time of closing. That would be the reason why.
Well, and a big reason for that is just to protect you and protect, the investment that you're making. Make sure that you are well qualified and nothing's going to fall out here at the end, which we'll be talking about in a couple of weeks when we're talking about closing. So, well, that's the process where we're at now. And so next week we're going to talk about an inspection, what to expect for that, who pays for it, and then you're going to talk about...
We'll talk about appraisal and then final loan approval.
Yeah, and who pays for that.
Yeah.
And what to expect with that whole process. So thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure that you watch next week at 2:15.